we're here, starting live video for our chocolate chip cookie bake-along. Okay, I'm going to wait just a few minutes to see if anyone hops on who wants to bake along with me. This is kind of a new thing that I'm trying where I call it a bake-along, and I send out the recipe a day in advance. That way you have time to shop the ingredients, and then you can bake along with me. And each time I do a bake-along, I'm going to try to do like a little contest where at the end, when you finish your cookies, on my video in the comments section, post a picture of your chocolate chip cookie, how it turned out. Maybe you have a different recipe that you do, and you've got a great chocolate chip cookie picture, and I'm going to pick the best one. And today's prize is, because I also do Pampered Chef, Pampered Chef sells this amazing mini brownie bite pan. And so I have one that I'm going to be giving away today to whoever sends me the best picture of chocolate chip cookies. And if only one person does it, then that person is getting a mini brownie bite pan. So I'm going to come around and check to see if we have anybody joining us. And then I'm going to get started. Hopefully you have all your ingredients out. We're waiting. Okay. I'll wait and see if anyone else comes in, and I'm just going to get started. Okay. So for this chocolate chip cookie recipe, if you weren't paying attention to my post yesterday, this comes from King Arthur flour. And to me, it's one of the best chocolate chip cookie recipes. Erica, can you grab me a knife, please? And so, of course, I'm going to be making it dairy and soy free. That way my son can have it, and I can eat it as well. You do not have to do that, but that's just how I do it. That way it actually gets eaten. So, mise en place, thank you. So, let's go over the ingredients real quick. I've got my stand mixer ready to go. I've got my granulated sugar, my brown sugar. I've got my all-purpose flour. I've got my shortening. This recipe uses a mixture of shortening and butter. I've got some vanilla extract. The recipe says you can also put some almond extract. Anyone on, Erica? Anyone watching? And I've got baking soda and some regular vinegar. Okay? For my baking chips, you can go two different ways. I'm using these mini chips for today, but what I like to do that I've done before is I get the biggest chips that I can find. So I've got these big chunky chip cookies. But whatever you want is fine. You can put dark chocolate, milk chocolate, if you wanted, or do a mixture of milk and white. So what we have to do first is we do have to cream both of our sugars. We got to cream our brown sugar and our white sugar with our butter and our shortening and our salt and some other things. Okay? Make sure as well you do have a rubber spatula, and I'm using our Pampered Chef rubber spatula here. Okay, so to measure, we first are going to start with the brown sugar. We need 2/3 a cup, and it'll always say packed. So it means you want to kind of press it in and drop. We need 2/3 a cup, pressed and packed, done. All right, now we need 2/3 a cup of the granulated sugar. And we're going to do that in here as well. We've got 1, 2, 2/3 a cup. And we've got 8 tablespoons of butter. For those of you that are dairy-free, I use this Earth Balance soy-free, dairy-free butter. And so I'm going to do some tablespoons here. And I'm actually going to do it with my 1/4 cup measure. All right. Everything always happens while you're trying to do something. It's the nature of it. All right, I'm going to put this to the side here. Now, we do need some shortening, and it's calling for a half a cup of shortening. And the nice thing about the Crisco shortening is right on the side here, it'll tell you exactly how much a half a cup is. It's going to be right there. Half cup shortening. All right. Now we need 3/4 teaspoon of salt. I always use kosher salt whenever I am doing a recipe. I don't use iodized table salt. 3/4 teaspoon. Beautiful. All right. And then we've got some vanilla extract, and I like to do a nice splash, just like I did yesterday in the banana bread. Nice splash of vanilla extract. And the recipe calls for almond extract. If you have it, put a little in there. It's really, really nice. And then we're going to add the vinegar and the baking soda. So we need a teaspoon of vinegar, and I'm going to use white vinegar, and then we're going to use a teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm going to measure out the baking soda first. That way I don't get my wet measure. There's a teaspoon of that, and our cider vinegar, which is going to activate the baking soda. Heard it kind of bubbling there, doing the volcano experiment. Now, what we're going to do is I have the paddle attachment here. Oh, I was going to do something with this, so that's fine. We'll roll that up, and we're going to start creaming this. All right, and I'm always doing a 10-minute tidy. I clean as I go. That way at the end, I don't have this huge mess that I have to take care of. Next, we're going to need our flour and 1 large egg. One large egg. Now when we cream, what we're trying to do is incorporate that sugar and butter and provide a little bit of texture. We're trying to fluff that butter and shortening up, so I'm going to increase the speed a little bit until I hear it almost kind of whip a little bit. That's nice. We're going to always stop so we can scrape the sides down, because you will get butter. I got it. Someone really wants to talk to me right now. Okay, once we scrape it down, then we go back, and we're just going to do this for a little bit longer. All right, here we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn the speed down. We're going to incorporate our egg. Now we're going to kick the speed down. I got it on the lowest possible speed setting. All right. Now before you start adding the flour, you want to let that egg incorporate into the dough. Okay? Always be patient. One thing that I'm not very good at is being patient, but I've learned with baking you have to be patient. Let it incorporate a little bit. There we go. Now we're going to start incorporating our flour. Okay? And what I like to do when I do flour is I'll mound it up. I'll take the back of a knife and I kind of scrape it like that. Get a nice even okay, you just want to scoop it in there nice and high, and then we take the back of that knife. Perfect. And slowly pour it in to incorporate. Beautiful, looking good. and tidy. All right, so we basically got everything that we need in there. I am going to stop it and get the sides scraped again just to make sure we don't have any excess flour or anything like that. The thing that I love about this rubber spatula from Pampered Chef is that it's got this nice long handle, so I can kind of reach in here and really get all the sides really, really well. It's great. It's great. Back up, and now we're going to incorporate the chocolate chips. And again, it calls for 2 cups, which is 340 grams, and I'm trying to look on the package here. This is 283, so it needs a little more than this, but that's okay. Turn it down to the lowest setting and slowly pour in. All right. That kind of looks like my ice cream. When I eat ice cream, I dump like a full container of sprinkles into my ice cream, so it's like super crunchy. That's just the way I like it. Now we're going to let that incorporate a little bit. Looks great. Now the key thing is this. You don't want to mix and mix and mix and mix your cookie dough, because remember, like we talked about in our bread workshop yesterday, the more you work the flour, the more you start to build up the gluten, the tougher the cookie. We want these nice and soft. So you're really just mixing it until it's incorporated, and then that's it, okay? Let me get this down. And I am allergic to egg, so I am not going to eat any of this raw cookie dough. But growing up, it was like literally my favorite part of chocolate chip cookies was eating the raw cookie dough. And like now they even sell like tubs of raw cookie dough that you can just eat. All right, got that. Now I want you guys to kind of look at my cookie. Okay, looks really, really nice. Now, what you want to do is, a lot of people are tempted to go ahead and scoop and bake right away. Here's the problem with that. If you don't allow this to go back in the fridge for a little bit and allow the butter and the shortening to be able to kind of firm back up, what happens is your cookie will actually go from being a tall cookie to a flat spread out cookie, all right? So it's very important that if you don't care, scoop and go. But if you do care and you want to get this nice, pretty cookie that has a nice height to it, you'll put this in plastic wrap or parchment paper if you want, and then you'll let it sit in the fridge for a half hour, and then you can scoop it and bake it. Some people roll it in their hands. If you do it in parchment paper, you can put it in a log and then cut it, kind of like the ones you get in the store, but always refrigerate. So for me, because I want to show you guys a really pretty cookie, I'm going to put this in some plastic wrap and let it sit for a half hour. Let me grab my plastic wrap. And got my Publix plastic wrap here. All right. And I have a really great tool that I use to scoop my cookies with. So really it doesn't matter if you decide to use a spoon or whatever, but I'm going to get this dough turned out. And remember, like I told you, mine's going to be a little different from yours because I used soy dairy-free butter, and I used, oh, that's it, just the soy dairy-free butter. That was the main difference between mine and the recipe. Oh man, I love the smell of it. Now, take the plastic wrap, and I'll just wrap it up real nice. All right, so I got mine wrapped up really good, and I'm going to put this in the fridge, and then I'll come back for a live video in a half hour after it's sat. I'll scoop, show you guys how to space them out on a baking sheet, talk about the temperature of the oven. I'll talk to you about time as far as how long we should bake these and what we really need to look for. Hopefully, you're at the same point I am. You have your dough ready to go in the fridge, And I'm sure most of you scooped off a little bit to taste it and see how it is. All right, so I'll be back in a half hour. And please post your comments and questions. And I'm looking forward to having chocolate chip cookies for lunch today. So, all right, we'll see you guys back in just a little bit.